So I met this chick at the bar.
Yeah?
Oh, she was hot. She was just like, hey,
man,
you just want to
awesome.
And I was like, yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
CIB.
Oh.
Hey, where'd you earn that CIB at?
The PX?
What
What?
do
It's
you
not
mean?
stolen valor. I bought it with my...
So I saw you grinning on my my little intro. A couple of my loyal subscribers are very creative. I mean, like super creative, and they created that intro for me for Throat Punch
Nice.
Thursdays. So today, guys, we're going to be talking with Nick Powers, a Marine Corps vet. Totally outside of my usual YouTube shenanigan bullshit that's going on with the Stolen Valor stuff. And, I just want to address this today. Everybody's like, why do you spend so much time on like Kaiser? He's my current Stolen Valor scumbag that refuses to admit any of his bullshit. And the reason you see a lot of content about him is because he is a YouTube personality. He is out here in the public eye. I do so many of these investigations in the background that you guys never even hear about, but I focus on the ones. And if you look at any of my previous videos, you'll see Jeremy DeWitt, Florida man extraordinaire, the phony police officer, major, special forces. He actually jumped into Fallujah, believe it or not.
Oh, we had a jump there.
Yeah, we did,
Ah.
unbeknownst to anybody. And his
Super
riser
secret
popped.
squirrel.
Yeah, he was one of one on that chalk jumping into Fallujah. And of course, I had another guy, Silverback, and you know what? I don't even talk about him anymore because why? He came out with a video apology on his YouTube, and it took a couple of tries, but we finally got him on the straight and narrow, and he hasn't been claiming any of his bullshit. But I'm going to explain a little bit about how I got involved with Nick. Now, Nick's a gamer. So
Damn right.
fuck all you guys, all right? Everybody's been busting my nuts about being a gamer. I used to have a gamer chair and it broke. So now I've got this nice fancy desk here and this chair and all
They're
this
so
stuff.
much better. Gamer chairs are terrible. It's such a waste of money.
Yeah, this is fantastic. But I had a gamer chair for a long time, and everybody's always banging on me about that. And as a matter of fact, I got the game up right now because the server's seating.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you do a little introduction. Tell us about your military service. Then we'll get into how we kind of met, and we'll talk about your nonprofit because I'm really intrigued by your nonprofit. I used to be a diver years ago when I was stationed down at Fort Stewart. I had my PADI open water, my advanced open water. I did some cavern diving, and I started doing the cave diving thing with an instructor down at Ginny Springs in Florida. But life happened, and I went back to active duty because that was during my reserve time, I think. Anyway, long story short, life happened, and I kind of faded away from it. And now I'm up here in the Great White North, and screw this 50-degree water. I'm not for that. So go ahead, Nick. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your military career?
It's short. I did one enlistment in the Marine Corps. Went to boot camp September 2003. Hit the fleet in April 2004. Did a workup for Fast Company. Did a mission in Pearl Harbor. Guarded a nuclear submarine for a little bit. And then after that, got attached to 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and deployed to Haditha, Iraq in 2006. My biggest regret was probably not taking the indoc for recon at the time, because once I got out of the Marines in 2007, that's all I worked with in the private security contracting side was nothing but, special operations guys. And fuck, every course I went to was, what recon battalion were you with? wasn't. Technically, I'm a pogue. Just got to play grunt for a little bit. Yeah, so I one pump chump in the Marine Corps and then spent about 3 years on and off all over Iraq doing contract work with Aegis, Triple Canopy, and SOC. Two of those three are absolutely atrocious companies. The only good one was Aegis. So they took care of us. I was one of 4 Americans in the country, in the company. It was all Brits, SAS, SBS guys, Aussies, Welsh, you name it. So it was interesting to say the least. And it was funny. I did meet another Marine Force Recon guy at one of the in-doc trainings for SOC who also cross-decked over to Aegis, and we ended up working together again, and he's a good friend of mine still to this day. But yeah, it's a short, right in the peak of, I think we caught Saddam while I was in boot camp, hiding in that hole. And we were allowed to, celebrate that day in boot camp for a little bit. And so I missed the initial invasion. Got a lot of buddies who were part of the initial invasion now after, starting Warfighter Scuba many years later after getting out, struggling with my own PTSD, raging alcoholism, trying to kill myself numerous times. Apparently I'm really bad at it. I'm still here, and thank God for that. Out of my own drunken stupor and selfishness, moving out to Caribbean island got me back into scuba diving. Anytime I was certified the whole time I was in the Marine Corps, and I was stationed in Hawaii, Kaneohe Bay. Didn't dive once. I was too busy getting drunk. We weren't out in the field. I was shit-faced somewhere, and definitely regret not doing any diving there. I had all my equipment in my wall locker in the barracks and never went. So that was a if I had a time machine, I would go slap myself quite a few times if possible.
Wouldn't all of us? I mean, the things you do in your youth that, and it's funny because one of the guys, Stone Vet Josh, he was recon Marine. Got out of the Marine Corps, did some reserve time, did some guard time, deployed to a couple of times, and he went into intel. And there's a couple of guys. Wally's a prior Marine. There's a bunch of prior Marines that I'm pretty close with through this whole YouTube community and the Stolen Valor thing. Josh really struggles with the PTSD stuff, and I've had to reel him in a little bit on his Stolen Valor stuff because he's like the little fucking pit bull. You turn him onto a target and he goes crazy. But his YouTube channel, Stone Vet, and a lot of the guys in our chat were all from all the different channels that deal with this, especially this Kaiser guy. So let me explain to you about this guy. Now, this fucking pisser, Josh gets a hold of me one day and he says, "Hey, take a look at this guy and tell me what you think." So I go and look at some of his videos. Now, he's claiming over a decade in the Army, Staff Sergeant, MP, 2 Purple Hearts, a bunch of other shit. But none of his stories were making any sense. Right. So he said he was in a Humvee going, now, bear with me here. Humvee over in, I believe it was Iraq or Afghanistan, whatever, going 70 miles an hour. That's what I thought.
I mean, even on a soft skin Humvee, that thing's falling apart if you're hitting 70 miles an hour. No way on an up armor.
It gets hit by an RPG in the grill, which stopped the truck dead in its tracks, pushed the engine back 8 inches, and it broke his leg while he was sitting in the truck. Now, I mean, I did a rebuttal video of that. One of my guys, they got hit with an RPG, actually a penetrator RPG right in the windshield, and it actually came through the windshield. But the kinetic energy of an RPG is not going to stop a couple of tons worth of up armored Humvee going 45,
No.
50 miles an hour.
You're
It's
going to
just
keep
not going to happen.
rolling, or forward momentum will continue. Right.
So this guy builds up this this YouTube channel on it, and what he does is he plays other people's video. Now, there's a bunch of people out there called First Amendment auditors. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Mm-mm.
They go out and they'll go to the fucking post office and just start videotaping shit, and then they get told they can't, and blah blah blah, and a lot of them get arrested, and so he plays their videos and then talks shit about them. So he was like this big guru in what they call the frauditor community, and then Josh turns me on to him, and I'm like, yeah, something's not right. We finally got his correct birth date. So I go on the Defense Manpower Database. I look the guy up. He tried to be in the military twice. In 98, he did less than a month and got thrown out on a medical. And the second time in 2005, yet again, never finishes basic combat training and gets the boot. But these were all of his stories. So we've been hammering the piss out of him. He's a convicted felon. He's got 5 convictions on felonies. He's got 5 pending felony charges.
Person.
And he was indicted for murder for killing a disabled Marine veteran. And he is the only suspect to this date. So it makes my blood boil at this piece of shit. If he had come clean about it, he would have been just like the one guy I've got. I move on to something else. But because he
integrity is a non-existent thing nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah. Integrity,
especially with
morals,
these shitbags.
Yeah. Anything whatsoever. And he's just a shitbag. So what's your take on this whole stolen valor? I know a lot of guys get really pissy about it. Me, I go after them only because they're taken away from my brothers and sisters that actually put in the time, made the sacrifices, because it's a huge sacrifice. It really is, being in the military. Even the guys that never deployed to combat, it's still a big sacrifice because you got to basically put your life on hold.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a flip-flop answer. When I was much younger and had that kind of God hero complex, because I went to Iraq and whatever, combat veteran this, and then I got to do the private security work at 24. I was making 160 plus thousand a year, just doing whatever the fuck I wanted. Telling shitbag leaders in Iraq to kiss my ass, and they couldn't say anything about it. And it was very, it was nice to get all of that anger from the Marine Corps out of me with shitty leaders that, whatever. But that also fostered a lot of anger inside of me for these people that lie about what they did. And from day one, I'm a pogue. I'm a proud pogue. I always rub it in all the grunts' faces when they're like, well, what? So you're not 0311? Like, no, I got to play one. They're like, oh, fuck you. You don't get to play one of us. Well, I did. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I went in when I was 17, changed my contract, ended up basically going open. GT score was too high, so they put me in admin. As soon as I got to the fleet, I was like, get me the fuck out of here. And that's when I got on with a fast company detachment and then over to 3-3. But, I whatever you did in the military, you should have pride on, whether you were fucking a pencil pusher admin or, special operations community. I mean, I've got friends from across the board. And unfortunately, our generation, the GWAT generation, maybe because of 9/11 and how everybody kind of came together after that and we were treated, that hero complex, that God complex was created, right? For anybody that did go and fight. So you have guys like this who might not have been a shitbag, maybe had a very valid medical reason or whatever and couldn't do it, but because of that hero or God complex that he saw, it's creating this fucking nonsense with stolen valor of this need to be acknowledged or accepted and
Adorned.
right, which is bullshit. And you know, when I first got out, I was all about it. Like, oh, I served, I did my part. You know, I'm doing my part in a war that I definitely don't see the same that I did when I was 17. Now, after growing up and seeing life and everything from the other side, but I see it different. Where before I was a lot more angry. Now I see this stolen valor as more of like a mental disorder with people. I don't give them a pass for it. I think they should be punished, to the appropriate levels by the law of which, whatever laws they broke, like that Sarah Kavanaugh.
Ooh, yeah, she was a big one. I covered her.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a freaking commander of a VFW post. Talk about some serious failures in regards to vetting people.
Well, yeah, and she worked at the VA and was stealing documents and stories from the veterans that she was supposed to be helping, and she ended up taking over $800,000 from nonprofits. Now, again, like, I've learned a lot starting a nonprofit. I don't recommend it to anybody. It is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So I'm not trying to discredit the nonprofit sphere, but the toxicity inside the nonprofit sphere, the selfishness, the corruption is absurd. And then on top of all of that, you have these people that are trying to steal from you, which just adds a whole nother level of anger and frustration. We're not a large nonprofit, and we have over 417 veterans on a waiting list currently. And we have caught stolen valor cases where, they've submitted DD-214s that look suspect. And, we're still waiting on OMPFs and everything to prove it. And I will be going straight to the FBI on all of them that we do find that were edited. You can't alter a federal document. So we're going to push this to the furthest extent we can through the FBI once we get the documents back. But, I'm not one of those people that goes and screams from the rooftops like I used to. When I was in my 20s, I was all about getting in people's faces, confronting people. Hopefully it was going to go to blows, that kind of stuff. And I still have some friends that do it that way. And I try and, I don't know, calm them down a little. Like, I appreciate what they're doing, but there's a more tactful way to go about it. And in that tact, you could actually probably do more good than some of the funny videos we've seen of call outs, which, I'm sure we've all seen them. At the same time, I feel very bad for the people. I think one guy, they're in a shopping mall and he was all dicked up in I don't know if it was multicam or ACU, but he was claiming,
was that the fat guy that had the Ranger?
Yeah. And I just felt horrible for him because you could tell he had some kind of mental things going on.
There really needs to be a diagnosis for it.
Yeah.
There really does, because it's crazy. And a lot of them have something in common too. A lot of them are serial criminals of some type. A lot of them have
like the guy you're talking about with felonies and all that crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all three of my big prolific YouTube guys, they all had felonies. Have all been convicted of felonies.
And apparently it's very hard to adult. I don't know. I've never even come close to a felony, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know.
I mean, and I'm not saying people can't turn themselves around. I'm not saying that, and I don't prescribe to the fact that people can't turn themselves around. However, these shitheads just continue to move on with their bullshit.
Right.
And it's ridiculous.
That ego continues to get stroked by whoever actually believes them, right? So if they're
Yeah.
not getting called out and nobody's bringing attention to it, nothing will ever happen. So that change could
Exactly.
never come. Yeah.
So I mean that's why I started my channel, and I pushed it. I mean, everybody's heard of Don Shipley. Don Shipley does
Yeah.
all the Navy SEAL stuff. Don's a
I've
great
spoken
guy.
to Don about a couple of applicants, and actually one of our instructors now that was with DevGru. SEALs are the easiest ones to vet, and I don't know why people try to claim that. It's like, whatever. I get it from Hollywood, but you're really stupid if you're going to try and say you were a SEAL. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They all know each other. It's insane.
I actually had a very good friend of mine 10 years or so ago that I always thought he was a Navy SEAL because he said he was a Navy SEAL, and he didn't come out with any really like crazy stories and shit.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about him one day. He said something one day, and it didn't make sense. And then a couple of other people were like, "Did that make any sense to you?" And I said, "No, it didn't." So I gave Don a call, and I gave him two names. I gave him my brother-in-law's name, who was actually a Navy SEAL. He got out in the mid '90s with bad ankles. He had fucking just smashed his ankles on a jump.
Yeah.
And just never really recovered from it. So I gave him my brother-in-law's name, and then I gave him this guy's name, and sure and shit, he was full of shit. And when I did the records check on him, he was a, what did they call it? Typewriter teletype repairman in the Navy.
Yeah.
So, I've been duped. And a lot of the people
everybody has. Some of these guys are so good at it, and they're just born with that. Either they've done enough research and they have the ability, the gift of gab, or they've got a lot of friends that they can steal stories from. But everybody's been duped by somebody. Oh, yeah. I can't say the name obviously, but we've had one of our vets who legit had Purple Hearts, right? He legit qualified to be in our program. And as soon as, so we had a 7th Special Forces group is down here out of Cumiagua and does a lot of work in Central and South America. And I was on Veteran Trash Talks podcast and met a guy who's in Guatemala, Lino, who was with 7th Special Forces group. He was one of their officers. And I invited him over to come dive with our group. And as soon as he showed up, the vet that qualified to come through our program, deployed to combat multiple times, had 2 Purple Hearts, everything, right? All of a sudden, went to Ranger School, passed Ranger School, went to selection, got selected, but his first sergeant wouldn't let him actually go. And I'm just sitting there like, I have all your paperwork, man. Like, what? Why? And again, there's like a mental. Like he did his service. I mean, he got wounded twice in 2 separate combat engagements, and he still felt insecure and had to lie that now all of a sudden he could have been a Green Beret, but his first sergeant won't let him go, which we all know is bullshit. If you get orders to selection, you're going to fucking selection. Like, yeah. And if you get selected, guess what? You're now part of the teams. Like, there's no we changed our mind, we want you back at the old unit.
It doesn't work like that.
So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I had going back to the gaming side, right? I contacted Shipley about a guy that I guess was local friends, went to high school with some of the guys that I played with Xbox years ago. Played with them for 20 something years, right? And they're like, "Oh, you got to talk to Jamie. He's a Navy SEAL." And immediately, like, okay, right, let's see about this. And then, as we're gaming, we're talking, and just lack of any kind of tactical knowledge whatsoever. I'm like, this guy's full of shit. So I sent his info to Shipley, and he's like, yeah, he never even went to Bud's or who's the boat cruise, Swick. Wasn't part of Swick or anything. So then I did the manpower check. He only did, I think, 2.5 years of his enlistment. So obviously he was in the Navy, but got out early for what reason, no one knows. And I passed that information on. I never confronted him. I obviously don't play video games with him anymore, but I sent it to his buddy from high school and said, "Hey man, look, you can do with this what you want, but I just want you to know that your buddy's been lying to you for a very long time." And he still didn't believe me.
I mean,
All right, man.
there's people that are supporting this guy Kaiser and donating money to him because they think he's giving it to veterans charities. And I've showed the documents. I did a Freedom of Information. It was so easy with him. I didn't even have to wait on St. Louis. I sent an email to the Alabama National Guard. That was the last place. 2005, he enlisted to go in the National Guard. I sent them an email, and then the woman that handles the FOIA request calls me. She's a civilian employee now. She retired from the Guard. She couldn't believe that they even gave him a waiver to come into the Guard. So I don't know what the medical condition was. However, she's like, I can't believe this bullshit. And she sent me everything. She sent me his DD-214 from 98, sent me his NGB 22, which is a National Guard discharge. They didn't have a copy of his 214 from Leonardwood because he never went back to the unit to out process. He never went back to the Guard. So they didn't have that. And I'm still waiting. NPRC is such a pain in the ass sometimes on what they release. A lot of times it takes me 3 or 4 tries before they finally give me some redacted documents. The first one you get a cover sheet and maybe a couple of pieces of paper, and I'm like, that's not what I asked for. I want a redacted DD-214. You can give that to me. I fall in that category as an investigator, and I get so frustrated. A lot of times, if I really want to get it back, I'll either get a hold of Mary from the POW network, or Don will get it. Steve Anston over at Guardians of the Green Beret. I've got a good working relationship with him because I spent 6 years at Bragg. I was on airborne status. My next door neighbor was a 325 infantry guy who went Delta. I'm still in contact with him. So I've known a lot of SF guys. I've known a lot of special ops guys from my time at Bragg. And I got a really good working relationship with him. Hey, let's talk about the gaming thing and how we became acquainted. So, everybody's busting my nuts, but I got this game quite a while ago, and I really didn't get into it much. And then I built a gaming PC, and I started to get a little more into it. And it's called Hell Let Loose. Now, you run a game server, the 3LA server for Hell Let Loose. And I'd get on there in the mornings when nobody's on there, and some of the guys that are always on there help what they call seed it to get enough players up to really, be able to have a game.
We're almost there. 24 right now.
I'm looking over right now. Let me take 24. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Guys like Widowmaker, Father, those guys, and they've taught me a lot about the game. And it's tactics, communication, squad movement. It's not all about like Call of Duty, run around and kill people.
Yeah.
Kill counts. I die.
But my kill death ratio. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And I tried to put out on my other channel, my gaming channel, I tried to put out new player info and help with that. But I get on here when I get up in the morning. I usually just flip the computer on, and a lot of times I'll start the game, I'll run around for a little bit, and then I'm away from the keyboard doing other stuff, drinking my coffee, having some breakfast, working on some videos or whatever. But that's how we became acquainted. And then I found out about your nonprofit, and I know we had a little bit of chat about the Stolen Valor thing on the nonprofit, where people will apply to get stuff, and they're not a veteran, or they're a veteran with an embellished career. I've got a friend of mine that's a veteran service officer in Arkansas. He sent me some excerpts from a DD-214 where this fucking guy had an honorable service,
Yeah.
but he's got shit on here like the Antarctic medal, silver stars. He had medals that haven't been awarded since like the 50s. I'm like, he had honorable service, but he's trying to pass this off to a veteran service officer so he can up his VA claim.
Oh, so defraud the government directly, which there was a guy that just got like 10 years in federal prison, didn't he? Because he took over $1 million in disability payouts. Yeah, he was never even served, and somehow managed to get a disability rating from the VA. It's impressive.
Yep. Well, that's like
way to go, VA.
Yeah, that's like this guy Kaiser. He's a basic training dropout. He did spend like 7 or 8 months at Fort Leonard Wood, and I'm thinking it was for medical care. He was probably on medical hold that whole time.
Yeah.
And he got kicked with just less than a year, but supposedly he's got a 40% VA rating. And he showed his VA letter, which was sus as fuck because...
Is he medically separated on his 214?
Well, I don't have that 214, but I do have the NGB form, and the NGB discharge said that they gave him a severance of $2,818 or some shit.
Yeah, because it would be listed on there. I mean, he would be medically retired if he's taking a pension. I mean,
so
I've seen it. You know, there's definitely people. You know, we had a guy recycle through our platoon at boot camp that had been at MCRD San Diego for almost a year. And he didn't graduate with us either. We cycled him out, and I'm sure he eventually got kicked out. But you know, in rare cases, you have to be pretty fucked up from an injury in training to rate medical retirement. I mean, so my instructor Joe, he's like your buddy, or your brother-in-law that had bad ankles, right, from the SEAL teams. I love Joe. He's become one of my best friends. He was with DevGru Gold Squadron for a long time. He's done more than most, and he's had 2 bad jumps. He's got a video of one of them, and it's fucking disgusting. Like his ankle explodes on the side of an ISU container. And he said, he's like, yeah, I'm great at jumping. I'm not that good at landing.
Yeah.
So the important part, right? But he's got funny stories and he's good about it. But the sad thing is he walks like a penguin. I give him shit for it all the time because basically both of his ankles are fused, completely fixed in place from all the damage, and he only finds peace underwater. So you know he's one of our instructors, and he loves scuba diving, loves being in the water, and he loves helping the vets in our organization. So it's funny how your brother-in-law and him have the same kind of injuries with bad jumps or whatever. And I don't even know where the hell I was going with that. I totally sidetracked myself because I started thinking all the stories that Joe's told me.
Yeah.
Oh, the medically retired. You know, it not only was he on Gold Squadron in DevGru, but he had to fight for his medical retirement. Fight for it after 14 years of service. It's bullshit. You know,
yeah,
and then you get these guys like this who may or may not, he might be medically retired, but got hurt in a training accident. I'm not trying to minimize that. I mean, if you get hurt in military service, you get hurt. But when you got a tier 1 guy that was riding the highest op tempo of any teams out there outside of maybe Delta, and he's got to fight for his medical retirement, I think that's kind of bullshit. The system's so fucking broken. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
This is coming from me personal, not the organization standpoint.
Yep. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
I get you.
Need to make that clear for IRS.
And I hear stories both sides. You know, Josh Stone Vet, he's got a lot of praise for the VA. They've treated him well. He's 100% disabled, mainly for the PTSD. Because he is a shit show, and it's nothing I tell him all. I said, you are such a shit show, but he's just a great guy. He really is. Do anything for you. And there's a lot of guys. Jeff Appleby, he's an MP, Purple Heart recipient. What's he saying? Combat enhanced severance pay, but to medically retire, you have to be rated 70% or higher.
Yeah, and you gotta go in front of a board too, which is where Joe had to fight, and they were trying to give him a hard time that he can barely walk, and with everything that he's done for this country, it just makes me sick. It's
well, and in Kaiser's case, I doubt he was medically retired, but it's just really sus. If this guy's lips are moving, he's fucking lying. Period.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. But any of you guys that ever think about gaming, hell let loose, man. I'll tell you, the tactics. It's when the first time I put a headset on when I played that game, I almost shit myself because I had it turned up too loud and I had artillery drop in on me, and I was like, "Whoa!" I jumped.
Yeah.
It was really crazy.
Have you gotten into squad yet?
I'm sorry.
Have you gotten into squad yet, or are you only doing hell let loose?
Just hell let loose. That's all I've been doing.
I got to get you over to some other ones.
All right,
hell let loose is great
on that.
But squad, if you want to hear like the best audio, it's insane. It's modern combat, but we don't have a server for that because of the admin requirements. They're kind of ridiculous just to be listed on a server browser, but it's a great game. If you like hell let loose, you'll love squad.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a try. So all of you freaking gamer haters, they usually call it gamer, Gaymer, but that's okay. I'm good with that.
I was in the Marine Corps. I'm all about that life.
Yeah, especially when you get the cross crayons on the old mouse pad here.
You like that?
I love it. Yeah, I love that. Because I'm always giving Josh and Wally, and Wally actually knew your name. I was surprised.
Oh, really? I have kind of a sordid past. I was a little bit of a Fox News sensation because of a post I made on Facebook, and I ended up becoming like a talking head for Fox News about ISIS years and years and years ago. I was on with Judge Janine and everything, and that was kind of weird. So maybe that's where he heard it from.
I think he knew about your dive trips.
Oh, cool. Well, that's better if you know about that side.
Yeah, I think he knows you about your dive trips and not so much anything else.
Yeah, we're gaining steam. VA put us in their newsletter, and we had 2,500 applicants in 12 hours, and broke my website, and had to upgrade our server infrastructure and everything. And then they haven't given us $1 to help all of those applicants that they sent to us, which is awesome VA fashion. We should hopefully get the grant this year. It should fund about 100 vets, but we won't know until September.
I think I fucked up your website. And the continued. What's the website again?
Warfighterscuba.org.
I'm just going to throw that up down at the bottom, just so people can see it. So let's talk a little bit about how did you get involved with this? I know you said you were kind of out of fucking control when you got out, and the drinking and the craziness and all of that. So how did this all kind of like roll into a nonprofit?
So in 2016, the elections were going on, and Hillary Clinton was running for president, and that was kind of my last straw. I was done. I was angry. I was like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm not. That bitch needs to be in jail. I'm sorry if anybody here thinks otherwise, but she needs to be in jail. And I was just so angry at the country and the government for being so corrupt, and just, I was over it. So, like I said, I was a massive alcoholic at the time. My wife had always wanted to live near the ocean. I couldn't afford that anywhere in the United States. You need to be a millionaire practically to live in Florida, and there was no fucking way in hell I was moving to California. But we found, this island in the Caribbean called Roatan, and it was cheap, because it was in Honduras, and Honduras is scary and dangerous, and you go there, you're going to get raped and murdered and cartel this and blah, 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 that. It's one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited in my entire life. Been here since 2016, but that first year here was rough. And if you're a scuba diver, you're probably aware of what Roatan is. It's one of the top 10 dive destinations in the world. And I got back into scuba diving, and in that process, it kind of unfucked my head significantly. And I talked to a couple of my buddies, from contracting from the Marines and everything. And it was the first time I had an idea that they didn't say, Nick, that's fucking stupid, don't do it. It was actually, Nick, you might be onto something. Go for it. So I got the 501c3 started, and I founded the organization to help PTSD and physical wounds through scuba diving. And, to date, we've helped over 150 veterans. We've helped a few Gold Star families. We've helped, dozens of amputee veterans. It's been amazing. And it all stemmed from my drunken anger that put me in a path that I never saw myself in, because I only wanted to be a selfish drunk and basically just drink myself to death on a nice island. And now here I am 6 years later, stone cold sober. There's no way I'd be able to do this if I was still trying to drink. And I have so many new friends now from all across the GWAT spectrum, even Vietnam. We've had Vietnam veterans come through. And it's just been an incredible journey to be able to help, my brothers and sisters from combat in a way that's not, hey, let's sit down in this office and tell me your problems. It's, we have a fuckload of fun underwater. You're decompressing, just mentally, you're free the second you go underwater. And then when we come back to the surface for the surface intervals, we have those conversations in a positive light. We don't allow alcohol. We don't allow any drug use on our trips, which is different from most nonprofits with veterans. I mean, most of them are drunken shit shows. We frown on that. We actually want positive outcomes to come from the trip. And we want veterans to be able to have conversations with fellow combat veterans they're all Purple Heart recipients. So, it's really hard to lie about that. There's easy ways to, it's an easy check to make sure that we're getting people that were truly wounded in combat. Because again, I got to say this on a personal side, the fraud in PTSD claims is so immense that it's completely clogged up our system. And I've seen a lot of that in the vetting that we do with applicants, that don't have Purple Hearts, but claim PTSD and who are rated at 100% disability for PTSD, that never left the continental United States. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to have a traumatic event happen, but the amount of that I've seen just seems a little too high, if that makes sense. And it frustrates me, because I've had 4 friends of mine, one junior Marine of mine, that have committed suicide, and they couldn't get help, and the system's so backed up. And any vet knows the VA is a fucking joke. And every time you move or whatever, you got to start from square one with your mental health therapist, so you got to go through all that crap all over again, because there's no easy ability to transition or to move forward. So we're providing that outlet in a alternative environment that's working very well. We're actually going to bring in some EEG scans to start showing what's happening in the brain throughout the week that they're diving with us. My whole goal is, I want to stop suicide. I know I'm not ever going to be able to do that, but I'm going to do my damn hardest to do what I can. And I'm trying to show the scientific community that, even the entire scuba diving community, Like, this is what you're getting, and you don't even realize it. You know, every diver understands why they dive, but they don't really understand the science behind it. They don't understand how you get thrown directly into the present moment, and you're not thinking about, oh, fuck, I've got bills due, or, you know, oh, I remember this really bad day in Iraq where, you know, I lost 2 of my good friends in an IED. Or in my personal situation, remember picking up chunks of human flesh from a stacked anti-tank mine that hit one of our excursions and killed 3 people. I mean, you don't think about any of that crap. It never comes up. You're focused on the present moment, what you're experiencing, the pressure that's surrounding your body, and it's changing people's lives. And it's really fucking cool that I get to be a part of it. You know, it's therapy for me.
It is. Yeah, diving does, because you're in a very foreign environment when you go diving, and I guess it's as close to being in outer space as you could be while you're on the Earth. You know, you're in a basically a hostile environment to you, but it's just I don't know how else to explain it. It's like
it's hard.
It's being in a
no
different
easy
world.
way. Yeah.
The minute you go underwater, and it's just
You have no control of it either.
Yeah.
You know,
None.
and if you're more on the anxious side, it's a little bit more difficult to have that switch happen. But, you know, for 80%, it's automatic. As soon as you go underwater, oh shit, I'm underwater. I have to breathe. Like, and that's all you think about. And then it just becomes natural. And then you're like, oh, wow, like, look at everything in front of me, you know? And yeah, it's completely abnormal to us. But the other cool thing is I dove down, Joe, I forget his last name. He lived in the Jules undersea habitat for 100 days. He's a Navy commander, retired. He worked a lot with SOCOM. And now he's doing mental health therapy through decompression therapy, dietary changes, exercise, and everything. And the guy's a genius. I mean, we dove down to him and did a podcast for 9 Line Apparel. And it's on their YouTube if anybody wants to go watch it. About an hour long. The guy's just an incredible human being. And he asked me a question, and it put me in a corner. And he's like, "All right, Mr. Scuba Instructor, why does everybody feel better after an hour at depth under pressure?" Because you saw cool shit. I don't know. And he's like, "No, you've doubled your stem cells naturally." Apparently breathing air at depth, 1 atmosphere, 2 atmospheres. So 30 feet, you double your stem cell count naturally just with how your body is processing the oxygen and nitrogen. So that's why celebrities and all these people go to hyperbaric chambers and spend tens of thousands of dollars to sit in there for an hour at a time. You know, it's like you're regenerating your body from the inside. So you have all these internal, like, scientific things going on in your body, in your brain, you know, that most scuba divers never knew was happening. So, you know, that blew my mind. Joe Duturi, that's what it was. See, I didn't forget your name, Joe, if you're watching this. But there's so many crazy things that happens under pressure with our bodies when you're scuba diving. And, you know, unless you're doing like technical stuff and going super deep, none of it's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's mixed gas and all that other stuff, and I never really get into that.
No, I'm good. Depth is not something I want any part of.
I just, the whole decompression thing and dealing with all of that.
Yep.
Just way too complicated for me. I mean, some of the deepest stuff I ever did was off the coast of Savannah. I had a 17-foot boat with a 70 horsepower motor. We'd go like 6 miles off coast out to the old Texas towers and just dive around there. It's like 70, 80 feet.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of cool to go out that far and dive around and see all the barracuda that were out there around the towers.
Yep.
And then we saw this little Vietnamese guy in like a 12-foot skiff boat with a little with a little tiny motor on it. He's out there like 6-7 miles off coast fishing. I was like, you got to be shitting me. This guy's crazy.
Yep.
But
Now you see the same thing down here with the little Pangas and stuff, like a little 40 horsepower motor in there. All right, well, if anything happens, you're absolutely fucked. I guess you're okay with that. I don't know. I want to back up to the backup to the backup. You know, I enjoy living now, so I'd like to continue it as long as possible.
So, how are you funded? Do you take donations?
Yeah, we're a 501c3, so we're a tax deductible donation. 50% of your net you can donate to 501c3, and instead of giving it to IRS and having it go over to Ukraine or wherever else they decide to put it. But yeah, you have that ability to do that with any 501c3, not just us, just general knowledge for everybody. You can at least take 50% of what you owe the IRS and give it to somewhere you want it to go.
So all of you idiots that are giving money to that fuckwad Kaiser, also known on YouTube as Fraud at Wrangler, just go to Warfighter Scuba and donate your money there, because it's going to a good cause. It's going to veterans. It's going to injured and wounded veterans. I wanted to plug that. I'm going to make sure I change this in the description. I screwed up the website for some reason.
No worries.
I don't know. I thought it was Warrior Scuba or some shit, but I'll change it around and get it right.
People fuck it up all the time. It's all good.
Well, hey, that's all right. I mean, it's I just want to get it out there, because we've got our YouTube following has got quite a lot of generous people, and I mean, I've had a few people. Let's see, David Finkel for $10. Thank you so much. Brandon for $5. David again, another 10. That $25, I'm going to go ahead and donate to Warfighter Scuba, and I'll double it with 50. So anything I get in my super chats is going to go directly to Nick and his organization. Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate
so
that.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to a big year this year.
I just got kicked, so we must be seated.
Yep. Yeah, we're at 99. Sweet. I can actually get back into that game. I haven't played it
I see you in there every now and
time.
then, and it's all zeros. You don't you don't do much. And I'll tell you,
I played it since 4 years ago, when it was early access, and I played the shit out of it. And they finally, I think, just fixed the loadout glitch, which just pissed me off. And that's why I haven't played much in the last year. But with all the changes that we're doing on the server and everything, I think I'm going to come back soon.
And Unclean Hands, thank you so much for 20. So it's going to cost me some fucking money here before it's all over with. But that's all right.
Tax deductible, so don't worry.
Well, I have to be able to take those deductions. That's the problem.
Right.
But it's not a problem to me. I don't mind. It's just, it's weird how, and there's another 25.
Thank you.
People are, and Danny just dropped another 20. So I'm cutting it off with my donation at 100. So you guys trying to fucking bankrupt me. But I don't mind doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, everyone. That's very, very grateful. We really appreciate it. You can find us on YouTube and everything. We're going to have a lot more content coming out soon on the veterans that have been through the program last year. A lot of cool things. We got a fundraiser coming up in St. Augustine, Florida. We're going to do a lionfish hunt. So if any of you are in the area and are divers, keep a lookout for that. Come dive with us and slay some fish and have some fun, eat some good food. You'll meet a lot of our veterans. Our entire board of directors will be there. None of us are on salary. Every dollar goes towards the veterans. I'm going to keep it that way as long as humanly possible. Obviously, if it gets to a point where I can justify quitting my job to do this full time instead of 1 week a month, that might change, but it won't ever escalate to anything crazy like, the big Wounded Warrior one that, their CEO has a $500,000 salary. I think that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, that's I don't. There's a lot of them I kind of stray away from.
Yep.
Wounded Warrior. I mean, they had good intentions when they started, and I kind of faded away from them when I saw some of the stories.
Yep.
Double leg amputee, and they're sending them a pair of socks saying they're helping them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually had some of those double amputees come through our program, and they've got some pretty fucked up stories, and it makes me super angry. But some of these orgs have more money than God, and they don't do anything with it. They hoard it, and they sue little nonprofits like ours into oblivion. I don't know. That's the whole toxic, corrupt side of the nonprofit industry. That's really, it's hard to eat on a daily basis, but there are nonprofits out there doing the right thing. You just have to look real hard.
Yeah, and everything's public record too, so it's not hard to look that stuff up and figure it out.
Yeah, it just comes down to people's willingness to actually do the research, right?
Yeah, everybody's busting my nuts now in the chat. They're telling me I have to show you my Mr. Sparky video. And
is this a sexual thing?
No. Don't get your hopes up, all right? Don't get your hopes up.
Things like that just brings back good memories from the Marine Corps.
Yeah, all right. Since Danny asked, I will go ahead and share that video yet again. So, where is it? It's not there. I got to find it. Let's see if I can find it. I'm sure I will. Oh, yes, here it is. All right, you're going to enjoy this.
Everybody all set? Spotters ready?
Yep. Good.
Taker ready? Videos ready?
Yep.
Stand by and
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Taser, taser, taser.
So this is you.
Okay.
That is me.
Nice. You got to ask Grusovsky in the server for his. He had to do that, last year? It's pretty funny.
It's not funny. It's not fun either.
Yeah, I haven't done that. Just the OC spray, and that can kiss my ass. That was fucking miserable.
I would much rather be tased than get OC.
Yeah, that shit. I'll jump in the gas chamber with OC all day, but that spray is like the devil's asshole. I don't know what they put in that. I was fucked up for 2 days after that doing the Fast Company workup. That shit.
Yeah. OC spray, oleocapsum. It's nasty shit. The CS stuff from the gas chamber is nothing.
Child's play. Yeah,
it's nothing.
Yeah, we would go back in and see who could go in there longest, like naked, basically, no gas mask or anything. And you come out, your whole body's red, you're fucking snotting everywhere. But that was kind of the normal way to end the gas chamber for us. But OC spray, fuck that, one and done. I'm never touching that shit again.
I've gone through that training several times, and it's miserable. I hate it. I went through less than lethal training when I was an MP, and we had to get it yet again. We got it. They sprayed us I think a 10-day course. Out of the 10-day course, 5 of the days we got sprayed. Not as part of the training. They just come by and they'd spray you.
Just for the fuck of it.
Just for the fuck of it, and make you miserable. Make you miserable. It was hard.
I mean, that's good. I'm glad they're making MPs miserable. I mean, I think all of us like that somewhere deep down inside of us.
Yeah. It is what it is. Hey, we're topping out at the hour. I know I told you I'd only keep you an hour. It's really great to meet you face to face here.
Yes, sir.
On here. Having a great time on the game server. I'm going to really push your Warfighter scuba. And
Get down here and dive with us, man.
Vacations. I got so much. I got so much stuff going on in the summers with my motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
Because I do road racing, and that pretty much eats up my entire time. We start the end of this year. I think it's the end of April, and it's still shitty weather up here at the end of April.
Yeah.
And then this year, I think it's only a 6-race series at New Hampshire, but I may travel. And then last year in February, I went down, because we lived in Georgia for so long. We lived right on a racetrack, right out, I could throw a rock just about and hit the racetrack from my house. And we went down there in February, and I ended up with 3 fractured vertebrae from a crash. So I got over that pretty quick, and the whole side of my head was all fucked up, and my vision was screwed up. And
what are you racing?
I've got an Aprilia 660 twin.
Nice.
And yeah. I don't heal as quick as I used to.
No, we don't.
Yeah, my wife's yelling in the background. You don't bounce anymore either.
Yeah.
So,
everything hurts. That's why I like being in the water and weightless. I don't have to worry about hitting anything too hard.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But it's warm year round here, so when it's all white up there, you've got an escape down here. I'll take you diving whenever you want to go.
So, guys, make sure you head over to warfighterscuba.org. Check it out. Make a donation. I appreciate it. Nick, I appreciate you coming on. This is kind of a breath of fresh air because it's not the usual bullshit with the stolen valor. There's actually some substance here and, some good things that are coming about.
I might have some people I need you to help me look into, though. So I might bring some of that bullshit your way.
That's fine. And I told you that when we first got to chatting on Discord and stuff. More than happy to check people out for you. I'll jump all over it. Not a problem.
Sweet. Thank you.
But I appreciate everybody coming on today. And as always, I'm going to end it up with my throat punch video. Hey, make sure you guys have a great day.
So I met this chick at the bar.
Yeah?
Oh, dude, she was hot. She was just like, hey,
man,
you just want to
awesome.
And I was like, yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
CIB. Oh. Hey, where'd you earn that CIB at?
The PX? What? It's not stolen valor. I bought it with my... Oh!